Well, nobody could ever accuse us of being professional. Thanks, Tom. No. Big,
we always got to do
dumb animal.
Usually it's you.
Yeah, well, I had all my shit right. Everything was on. Everything worked.
You definitely did today.
Everything
microphones
worked.
open.
And I blew it.
All right. Power and speed. We're back again. Thomas, read off our information, Thomas.
Sorry.
I don't mean to step on you.
Yeah,
Go ahead, read it off.
908-751-0211. And you know what to do. What should they do, Ted?
Like us on Facebook.
That's right.
And also,
Yes.
put something on iTunes if you're an Apple user.
Yep.
You know, a review, Facebook, whatever.
Hatred.
Yeah, but leave hatred. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. I mean, a review is a review.
That guy's here.
Crunch is here. Made it on time.
I'm here. I thought I was
I know.
almost a half an hour early.
I know, and there's probably going to be some people that are going to be a little screwed up on this. And actually, I probably got to take a look at it real quick. The way I posted the link on Facebook, it appeared that what we were really saying is that, Howard from Redline Performance would be on at 7:15, and I was really trying to say 7:15 start time. So, just a typical case of your brain going faster than your fingers.
like ours usually do.
Yeah. So we'll get that all ironed out later.
It'll be fine.
But he's going to call in at what, 7:15?
Yeah.
All right,
Yep.
good.
Yep.
And what did you do this weekend, Thomas? You had an eventful weekend.
Yeah, I was in California. I went to
Big dog.
everybody is looking at me like they want me to say it. I went to SubieFest.
Can you explain for the listeners what SubieFest is?
Yeah, because that could be misinterpreted.
Yeah, I know. It is a really big Subaru event put on by a group out in Cali, and it's really good. And because we are so big in Subaru, and it's such a good commodity for us, we feel compelled to go out there and put up a display and show our wares, man.
And it is a huge show, right?
Huge,
And Subaru does particularly well
really
for
well.
you as a product line.
Really well. And just to give you an idea, the show is in the infield at Fontana Speedway, where they have a NASCAR race.
Okay.
It's not some little, dive event. There was an NMCA race going on adjacent to it at the drag strip, and we were in the infield of the big track, 2-mile track.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool.
And I know that while you were out there, you made contact with a particularly good Subaru guy who's going to come on.
Yes. Well, I didn't make contact with him. He was out there with me.
You worked out the details.
Yeah. We displayed next to each other. He's one of my customers, and he's a really good Subaru enthusiast and Subaru engine builder. They build cars, they build engines, and he's also a manufacturer. He's got a lot of CNC equipment, and he makes a lot of Subaru-specific parts.
Yeah, he said the guy does like closed deck blocks. And
Yeah. High-end stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff. It'll be good stuff for us to talk to kind of break into the the import side.
And I make fun of the Subarus, and it's just everybody's got their own taste.
You do?
Yeah, a little bit.
You do?
A little bit here and there.
I didn't know
He
that.
can't really say most of the things he says to me about him.
Yeah, no, I can't. But you have to do that. You know, like he's the guy that you'd pull up next to him, and you just have to laugh at him.
But his Subaru actually looked good, though.
It does. Yeah.
So I was there, and I don't know if we talked about this, but the guys from Dubai that we went out to see, and we'll talk about this later on with Howard, because Howard met these guys when we were out there. They met me in California, and we went to the Sand Sports show. Now you're kind of into this stuff, the side-by-side deal, right? You have that razor. That you like jump over your house with and shit.
Yep.
So I was never aware that stuff was so big. I think we're going to this little, mom and pop show.
Right.
It was enormous.
Are you talking about like the 4-wheelers and Banshees?
Yeah,
and all that kind
Banshees, 4-wheelers, side-by-sides, 4-seaters. They go up to, they build buggies for out in the desert with, 1,000, 1,200 horsepower LS1s and sequential transes. There was one out there that there was $250,000 price tag on for a dune buggy.
Wow.
And didn't have air conditioning. Crazy.
Wow.
$250,000.
$250,000.
Yeah, that's what $250.
Yeah,
it is.
That's like
I was running the numbers.
Sorry, Alan. It
car guy stuff. I mean,
I'll just keep the seat warm for him.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, the side-by-side market is. Brian bought a razor when they first came out, a Polaris RZR 800S, That's the thing. You went for a ride, man, at Crunch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
When you
okay.
tried to jump the hill.
We didn't try.
I'm saying
Yeah.
you could have went higher, but I was over there
Yeah,
screaming like a bitch.
Me too.
But that when like Brian, you got to bug up his ass. He's like, I got to buy one of these things.
Yeah.
And he's looking at like, what are they? The John Deere things and everything. I said,
Oh,
"Dude,"
yeah.
I said, that's if you're a farmer. I said, you want to fuck around. So, he bought the Polaris, which was the one to get at the time.
Yep.
And it was amazing. I mean, it jumps, it lands.
It's fun.
It's what Tad and I explored the gas pipeline,
the pipeline, right?
Yep. Well, then,
Throw me in with that.
yep. 2, maybe 3 years later, might have been one more year. I don't remember how the timeline went, but they came up with an RZR 900. And the one thing that's wrong with Brian's is it has like control arm suspension all the way around, like regular A-arm.
Yep.
And listen, I'm not hating on Polaris, but it's stupid. The way they have the arms lined up, you can't do alignments on them. Like everything is kind of fixed.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do toe, but that's about it. Like your camber's off, you're kind of screwed. That's why the aftermarket jumped on that, all kinds of components. The new ones, like massive travel, trailing link suspensions. I mean, they're really nuts. And now,
The Yamaha.
Yeah, the horsepower wars are on.
Right.
Polaris released a 1,000cc one that made like 110 horsepower. Then I guess it was Can-Am released one with a Rotax motor that made like 115.
Yep.
Yamaha got into this and said, okay, well, we're not going to use the snowmobile clutch, like meaning that there's no trans. It's a variable pulley change,
Right.
On drive and driven. Yamaha went to a 5-speed sequential.
Wow.
Which
What-
is insane. Wet clutch. I mean, it's like Formula One stuff.
Yeah, that to me this is like the two-stroke conversation. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
The Polaris is off-putting because I'm not a snowmobile guy. Never liked them. Don't like the cold. Don't want to screw around in the snow.
Right.
But when you get on the throttle, they're like, "Ree," and they just go up to an RPM until the clutch catches up, and then the thing goes faster and the RPM comes up. It's goofy.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like driving around in high gear with a real loose converter.
Gotcha.
It's just, I don't like it.
And funny you're mentioning that because the Dubai guys said the same thing. Obviously they want to go fast. Obviously they want to have fun. But they were telling me that the sound of the deal makes a difference. Because we were talking about the buggies and why they put V8s in them. You can make so much power with a V6 and smaller, lighter, shorter.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but they don't sound like that.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Oh,
I mean, when car
Yes, it's
people
true.
want some kind of cool sound.
Right.
They
Well,
just do.
Brian's Polaris was a 2-cylinder. I believe, and I'm talking out of my ass here because I don't know about the 1,000cc one that was made like last year or the year before.
Right.
I believe that was a twin cylinder also, but really revised. Like Brian's is old school, like almost tractor motor, like what Polaris has always
I'm pretty
had.
sure it was too, because the guys made a point of saying that the Yamaha's a 3-cylinder, and it didn't appear to me like anything else was.
Okay. Well, the new Polaris that they just released to compete against the Can-Am Turbo is a Polaris Turbo that I believe makes 144 horsepower. So these things are getting pretty serious. Now, the new Polaris is a 3-cylinder, completely redesigned motor again, and, looks pretty serious. But I got to tell you, that Yamaha one, even though it's down in power, it has the gear multiplication factor, which we talked about last week.
It makes you feel you have more control.
Exactly. Talked about it with Tommy Martino, that if you can get a little more gear. Now, I don't know what the max RPM of one versus the other is, because that gives you multiplication. And I mean,
Yep.
But for my money, not only that, speaking of money, the Polaris,
I was just about to ask you, give me some prices on these things.
25 starting.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's as in 1,000.
Right, for the buggy.
Well, it's
Yeah.
a side-by-side.
It's a
Right.
side-by-side.
Right, but it's wide open, so it's a buggy style.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
like the thing you were in.
Right.
Yeah.
25 grand.
Yeah. I mean, that's a Chevy shitbox, like a regular.
Yeah, I mean, you could buy a pretty nice Colorado for 25.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting a toy to drive around like a jerk off for 25.
Pretty fast, though.
But now the Yamaha, and I had it's so funny that Tom brought all this up, because I was just going through this, looking at all this stuff the other day, because I'd like to get a good one, like the right good one. But I think that this whole conversation made it pretty clear that the good ones aren't done yet. Like there's going to be the next leap, the next leap, the next leap.
Yeah, but that's like computers. You could wait forever.
I know,
So
but
gonna have
here's
to
my
jump
question
in.
to you, Mike. Will you buy one at $30,000 for a nice fast one?
maybe,
Just to ride around here on the compound?
maybe,
Wow.
maybe. I mean, Look, we can go in the way back and clear a track out and then see if we can end up in the woods. I mean, we could.
And we could end up in the woods.
And
so.
what'll happen is I'll buy one. Brian will buy another good one, and then it's going to be a mess. Then it's going to be
Then you'll be racing each other?
Oh yeah, aftermarket parts, and all sneaking around, ordering stuff, having it delivered someplace else so you don't see it.
Nitrous.
Yeah,
We'll
Then
get we'll get the Razor.
Tad will have to buy one, and then Crunch will have to come in with one, and mine will have chrome rims on it. We know where this is going.
So yeah, they're 144 horsepower, and on one and a normally aspirated, the sequential gearbox.
Yep.
This is getting serious in a hurry.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How much horsepower does like a 750 or 1,000 GSXR, how much do they make?
I'm not good at that. Tad probably knows. What does an R1 make?
I've been out of that so
But they're not
long.
over 200.
No.
No,
What,
no.
$150?
So these, oh wow.
$145,
That's a lot of
$150?
power.
No, they got to have more than that, dude. Because my
What's it
CBR 1000 years ago made 148. So it's. I'm sure they got to be like probably in the 180 area.
Probably.
Well, then that's a lot of power for a side by side.
Pro stock bikes are around 325, I think.
That's
Good
different.
Gracious.
Well, here's what I don't
It's a
understand.
lot.
What is Yamaha waiting for? Don't you have a whole stack of R1 motors over there
I know.
with a gearbox already in them?
We were talking about that before.
Yeah, come on.
Throw it in. Bolt it in, right?
Absolutely.
I know.
Okay, now what's that machine that looks like a car and you can register it and drive it around? That looks like a three-wheeler motorcycle.
Oh, there's one with a
those.
wheel in the back.
Yeah,
There's a
they just look
KTM
really
with the
oblong and crazy.
yeah, not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't like that.
I would never know what the name of that is.
I don't know. There's a Polaris one. There's a KTM one. There is something called an Expo. That's KTM.
Like-
That's actually four wheels.
Is it?
Yeah, the Expo, because they race them like inside. I saw them on Top Gear and
Yeah,
stuff.
that thing, the KTM one's got an Audi engine in it. It kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff, that's all goofy shit. I want to go out and tear dirt up and rip
Yeah.
up my neighbor's lawn and just, just be a general teenager again.
Jump over your own house.
I know that Redline's going to be calling in a little bit. You think he has any information about the new ZR1 Corvette? Because that might be what I was waiting for.
I don't know. It's possible. He does know people at GM. He kind of always seems to be, on the cutting edge of information. So-
I personally, Lord knows that my Corvette frustrates the shit out of me. I mean, that,
I don't know if he's gonna be able to help you with that.
no, unless he has a can of gas.
He might.
Yeah.
He might. No, he might know about it. He might not. He's more obviously. His expertise is it's in all of it, but really what he does in his company is the calibration.
Yeah.
And he builds engines too, but he has a group that they all do certain things. He'll explain what they do.
No, I mean, pretty comprehensive looking at his stuff. But
Yeah, I know.
I was all for it. Tad knows it. We've talked about it. I couldn't wait for the Z06. I was waiting for specs. I was hoping they were going to up the power level in comparison. Like the Hellcat, was being touted as 700. I'm like, come on, GM, a little smaller pulley, you can do this.
Yep.
I was all in ready. And then I saw how heavy the thing was, that I saw the stuff about. I'm like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
The car just got like another, I think it was like 200 pounds heavier. Howard might be able to correct that too if I'm wrong about it. But a lot of things were kind of disappointing in that one.
Yep.
But a lot of people gave it decent reviews. So I don't know. But I mean, a mid-engine one, like stepping into.
I know. We were talking about, will it be all-wheel drive?
Yeah.
Could it be all-wheel drive?
Well, don't
Corvette?
forget. Yeah.
Oh, no. Don't
Yeah.
tell me that.
Yeah. Mid-engine. Yeah, that's the new
Oh,
one.
that's the yeah. We saw that. You sent me the link.
Yep. I mean, look, I was looking at a McLaren. That's a rear-wheel drive.
Yep.
But it's kind of a McLaren.
Well, now the new Ford GT is a rear-wheel drive, but it's a V6. So at least the GM's going to be a V8.
Yeah, I was happy to see that they didn't, abandon the V8
Well,
side.
they don't have an EcoBoost device.
No, and they also didn't abandon
sooner or later.
They didn't abandon the in block cam,
No.
and that's
Sure.
nice to see.
Yeah, they're hanging on.
Yeah, I think I've got high hopes for it. I really do, and I guess they're gonna make that platform. I don't know if that's C7.5 or C8, but it would be really strange that they release the ZR1 and then adopt the platform, like release the big dog ahead and then release the little car, the consumer car.
Next production year, or
Who
Yeah.
knows?
Or it could be, a completely specialized section of Corvette.
can
But-
they afford that?
Who knows?
He's sending me, we're going to have fun in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt.
Well, as a matter of fact, it's not a couple of minutes. He's on here. Hang on, let me pull him in. See if everything works. Howard, you there, buddy?
Yes, sir.
Nice to talk to you, man. Thanks for calling in.
You too. Appreciate it. I've been listening to some of the shenanigans already. With the,
nice picture, man.
Small powered. You like that?
Yes.
That's what I do in my free time.
I know.
We've actually been better behaved. We've toned it down a little bit because you could imagine it with Tom pretty well. This could go off the rails badly.
It has gone off the rails badly. But let's introduce him. This is Howard from Redline Motorsports, and he's not only a customer of mine, but he's a friend, and he's a very accomplished engine builder, tuner. He guitar player. He does a lot of things, and it's kind of came up. I was breezing through the magazine rack at the airport, looking through Cosmopolitan and stuff that Tad reads, and I saw this is a while ago. Well, not too long ago. I saw his Corvette on the cover of Vet magazine. I'm like, we got to get a hold of this cat and see what he's up to, because he's always up to something crazy. So here he is.
And this was the 7-second Corvette.
Yeah. Yep.
I got to tell you, it was funny because Tad, who's also here, hopefully he'll talk at some point.
I brought that up a while ago, and then when Tom said, "I know that guy. I give him parts." I was like, okay.
That got posted on the Facebook page, and I watched that, and I think my comment was that was a beautiful pass or a perfect pass or whatever. It looked so nice.
Yep.
I mean, for a regular, we'll call it a regular suspension Corvette. How long was that in the makings to get there?
Well, interestingly enough, the article that Tom's talking about, we do a lot of technical stuff with the magazines, and Scott Parker, who's the editor of Vet magazine, I've known for a lot of years, grabbed me and said, "Hey, we want to do something on that car." And the article was really, I guess, more of a write-up about my career and how I got where I am, but also how the car got dragged from being purchased brand new to where it is. And I bought that car brand new in early 2006, and I told all my friends I'm not modifying it. Yeah. I already had a bunch of other modified cars, so that already tells you how things end up in my world. Can't leave anything alone, much like I'm sure a lot of the people that listen. And the car started out like any other project. A few bolt-ons, and you're driving it, and you're street racing it, and then we ended up putting a couple turbochargers on it when it was still a stick car when I was up in New York, and it just started turning into a psycho machine. And I don't know if Tom's told you, but when we relocated from New York to South Florida, the car was just sitting in the corner there, and I'm like, we got to do something fun with this thing. And let into an automatic, and then let into another motor and bigger turbos, and next you know you're gunning for a number. And I guess that's the normal path of any addiction, typically in this type of motorsport. So the car kind of gives me a taste of adrenaline, which I definitely need to have quite often. And also, for the business, it shows people that we have the brains, the power, and the capacity to build missiles.
Well, it was kind of funny because when I saw that and when I started talking to Tom about, I have two of them. I have a 2001 C5 and a 2013 427. And the 427 one has been a basket case. It's just the motor went bad in 1,800 miles, hit a deer at 3,200. Clutch went bad at, 9,000.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hard on equipment. No doubt about it. But the one thing that I know from my 2001 is I have friends, like a friend of mine worked at East Coast Supercharger, John Romano. Yep. Tom knows him, passed away. Yep. Told me all the things that are going to break in the C5, like in the rear and the trans and what they're doing, like, supports and everything. So I was really interested. I even mentioned it to Tom. I said, yeah, but these platforms are a mess, dude. There's nothing stays together in the back of them. And then I saw what went in the back of that car. That was pretty impressive.
Well, we get this question a lot as a shop. Guys are like, "Oh, do I need to put a rear in the car? Do I need to put axles in it?" And it really comes down to like, what are you doing with the car? I mean, obviously, for the exhibition running that we do with that car and the power level that it makes and how hard we have to hit that car out of the hole to get it to run a number, I mean, we're putting some serious load on that car. But interestingly enough, up until last year, we were still running the original stock diff in the car and going 850s at 170 with the car.
Wow.
Stock diff.
That's pretty good.
Now, that the diffs are always breaking, guys are blasting them out, but we converted the car to an automatic, and just the way we got the suspension working, the way the tire was working, any car that leaves good doesn't. We say it leaves hard, but really it's leaving very linear. And it's the cars that leave explosively hard are the ones that usually tend to break more stuff. So, it's kind of like goes against the grain of what normally breaks, because I said we drove that car to many mid 8-second passes with a stock diff in it, So, but, when you get to the level we're at, it not only becomes something that you want to improve on to longevity, but it becomes a life safety issue too when you're blasting down the track. You don't want to be thinking about what's going to fall out the back of the car when you're not down to the end yet.
Yeah, an independent failure can be bad. Can be very bad.
Yeah.
Ugly.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry.
What's that?
No, I was gonna say, how's the move from New York to Florida been?
It was a good move. I mean, obviously to expand the business, which is what I wanted to do. Upstate New York where I was, just with the weather season pattern alone makes it difficult to keep yourself busy. You go 4 months up in New York where, it's very limited season and the level I want to go to wasn't going to work. But Florida, at least with the weather, a lot more crazies down here for sure. We've got racetracks all the way around us. It's been awesome. I mean, adapting to the culture down here, it's been different. 42 plus years living in upstate New York. It's growing up in the city. It's different.
Yeah,
but get used to it.
You're getting them used to you.
Yeah, they're dealing. It's funny you say that because and not to differentiate New Yorkers from anybody else, but I guess I have to because it's. I realize more now than ever that there's an attitude that you're bred into from that genre of the country, New Jersey, wherever it may be. And when you come down here, there's a lot of New Yorkers, and they really appreciate the in-your-face, tell-like-it-is attitude.
Sure they do.
Which is how we operate. And I think it's been, as much as it's rubbed some people, which I'm aware of, it's going to happen, we've gotten more good out of it than bad.
I believe that.
Because we tell people we're not here to be your friend, and we'd like to be your friend, but we're here to do a good job, meet the goals what you're looking for, use the right parts, and get it done. And then we'll be friends afterwards for sure. So we're not going to sugarcoat it going into it. It is what it is.
Yep.
And that's a tough business because the Corvette guys, they are a picky, strange bunch. Not saying it badly, but I mean, we made reference like the guy will come in with Corvette socks and shoelaces and I mean,
yeah.
Those are those guys. There's no doubt about it.
We throw those guys right out of here.
Well, we had to pick a guy. Hank Manley's got a ZR1.
Yeah.
And he wanted some power, and we had to pick a guy. And Howard was my choice, obviously. And that was the first time I got to see him actually work through a project.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty impressive. The whole deal, it's impressive. It's also cool to watch a guy, watch a guy and his crew work on a car to the level that they have the experience to know, what the other guy's doing and, lifting the car off the frame. And it was cool. It was really cool. And obviously the result we got was pretty damn good.
Yeah, you've talked about his ZR1 a couple times, at least to me. I don't know if we mentioned it on the show, but it's... I
don't remember, but it made nearly 800. We call it 800. But Hank just, every time I talk to him, he just, it's like a big toy for him, and he loves driving it every day.
Well, that's what most of these things end up being. Like what Howard's got there, it was a toy, and it just progresses and gets worse and worse and worse. That's the path.
Toy.
Yeah.
Toy.
Yeah, that's the path that all this stuff inevitably takes. I got a question that, maybe some of the listeners would want to know about, but for me, it's particular interest. I did read your thing about how you got into the tuning and the fuel injection and everything else. And I kind of started the same way, but because of what I was doing engine-wise, it didn't intersect like yours did. So I left it, like I had never really done any stock programming. But the direct injection thing, that's particularly interesting to me. Has that opened up any new doors for what can be done?
Yeah, I mean, it's opened up doors for shops like us and a few others. There's obviously other shops in the country that are, starting to get a grasp around it, but there's a lot that don't have a grasp around it. So I guess that might be considered a door. At the same time, it's closed a bunch of doors because some of the functionality of the system has made it very hard to, make big numbers like we were accustomed to with a port fuel motor. Back in 2013 and 12, if I wanted to make 1,200 horsepower, I just bought an injector that did the job. I put put a fuel system in that got the job, and I made enough fuel mass to make the power. With direct injection, we don't have the offerings of injectors and pumps, so we're hitting walls, and we're finding alternate ways to get the job done. And it's kind of, I don't know if you guys remember, like Carroll Supercharger back in like the late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were up in Jersey somewhere, and I always remember how they had this 9th fuel injector that just shot random fuel into the intake to support the additional power because nobody could program the car.
Yep.
And we're a little bit back to that again. It's just funny how it's like bell bottoms, you know, it comes full circle.
Well, whatever you do, don't bring the bell bottoms back.
Well, I'm just, wait, I didn't bring them back. It just, they came back, but you know.
He just wears them.
It's like a boomerang, you know, so, you know, we find ourselves with these very sophisticated high-tech, you know, cars, the C7s and stuff like that, and then we find ourselves having to go back to our roots because we're not going to sit around and wait for the industry. We're going to make the industry, you know. So that's been I've got a pretty cool car in the shop right now. It's a 2015 automatic Z06, customer of mine up in South Carolina. And this guy is he just wants to go as fast as the thing can go. And we built a whole custom supercharger system and our own fuel system. And it's a little bit uncharted land right now, you know. I mean, the calibrating is very difficult because we don't have all the tools we need. But we said the same thing in '97 when the LS1 came out. We did the same thing in 2005 when they changed the C6, and you know, we'll figure it out. We'll get around it, you know.
Have the tuning software companies like made an active effort to get more unlocked, so to speak, to be able to do this? Like,
yeah, I mean the problem with the aftermarket guys that are out there, HP Tuners, EFI Live, two phenomenal companies, is that they're really not calibrators. They're software guys. So, you know, they go mucking through a calibration and they start digging out all kinds of stuff. And we sit there and we're like, well, I don't know if the screwdriver is going to fit the screw or not, but you gave it to me. Let me see what works, you know? So it's a very interesting game between what they pull out of a calibration and what we are able to use and know what it does. There is no book on this stuff.
Well, don't they primarily learn how to kind of get in the back door and figure out what maps are what? Hopefully being right most of the time, and then the calibration is really more on you. Oh, well, it's all on you, right?
It is, but take for example the new C7 stuff. You know, the computer's the E92. You know, it's a torque-based control system, and everything's about torque, what you make, how you make it, and where it all goes. And you know, today when you hit the throttle pedal, even though we've never really been attached to the throttle like a carburetor, now you hit that pedal and it's got a torque request table and says, hey, I want to make 300 foot-pounds of torque. It says, all right, well, is this in check? Is this in check? Is everybody good? Can we do this? And all this integration is going on at one time, and then here we go. We move another 40 pounds a minute of air through the motor. It ain't happy because it's like, whoa, who invited this thing to the party? So it's a struggle sometimes getting all these things to accept the change. There's a lot of what's called closed loop function that, if you get outside of a range, it tries to pull you back in the range. Well, I don't want to be in that range. I want to be over there. I want to be where the power is. So, we have tables. We have a lot to work with. Some of it you look at and nobody wants to go near it. And believe me, nobody in the outside world, outside of GM really has a total control grip on it like the OEM does. I mean, talking millions of dollars of engineering and a staff of God only knows how many people. Believe me, we're not going to untangle it that fast, but we figure it out.
You would think that GM with and look, especially with what's going on now, you've got Chrysler pushing a horsepower challenge. And we always talked about this. The technology is available for a street car to roll out of the factory at astronomical levels. It really is. I mean, they have fantastic budgets. The Hellcat to run out at 700 and, the Z06 at 650. I mean, that was unheard of years ago. So the electronics have made a lot possible, but I can't believe that GM is not, I want to say, more helpful to the aftermarket division.
It's funny. I just read where Ford is actually enticing people to get involved in the EcoBoost tuning. I mean, they're actually going to open their stuff up more to the tuner world. I just read it yesterday.
Really?
Yep. So, Chevy and Chrysler should take a cue from that.
Yeah, you buy a car because you're an enthusiast,
Right.
And you probably, chances are pretty good you want to mess with it. You want to start screwing around.
Why do you think Chrysler sales have not been as good as you think they would be from those performance cars? Is because Chrysler has made it very difficult to obtain calibration, support, and control. That's why that market is as weak as it is. I mean, granted, it may not be as prevalent as the GM and the Ford side. That's always been a pony war rivalry from the beginning, but a lot of guys would not buy a Challenger because the 2012 you couldn't get in and do anything, and they're like, I'm not buying it. I want to put a supercharger on my car. So, their stuff seems to leak out, but you have to realize, guys, that there's a government, which is another. We'll save that for another 9-hour conversation. It's constantly sticking their fingers up the ass of the fun factor, and it limits this stuff. And, I have a lot of friends of mine that work at GM. I understand what goes on. I have a lot of respect for what they have to deal with. Their rules are different than us. What I mean? And we all walk a fine line with it. I mean, the world's falling apart and going crazy, and guys just want to drive their cars and have fun. It calms us down.
It keeps a lot of violence at bay if you can get
money into into the borders, and they should put more money into us playing with our cars and not worry about us. We'll be a little bit calmer. You know what I mean? But
true that.
But that's part of the problem why there's not a lot of endorsing of, I read something not too long ago that GM is trying to get some kind of law enacted where the software that is in the controller is their private property, and if you go and tamper it, you're basically tampering with somebody else's property.
I heard that too.
Concept.
Oh, so they're making it like a digital rights management issue of what's in the car.
Yeah. I don't know where that's going, but that'll have the White House wrapped around with burnout marks around it. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, it's the grain of our country. It's the boys' sport, so I don't know where it's going to go.
It's crazy that people will get involved in that.
It is.
Like politicians, there's so much they can be doing, and they're messing with cars.
And the funny thing is, like the automotive industry, I mean, they recognize that people are looking for cars like this. Like they released the Hellcat with a very high horsepower number. They sold through them. They couldn't, quote unquote, make enough of them. And I understand there's a whole deal. We've talked about that they need to keep their average of fuel economy in a certain range across their entire offering.
Yep.
But I mean, they see that these cars, they don't have a problem selling them. It's what people want. And, I just think more cooperation, if they could do it without the government getting too hard on them. I mean, and look, Tom and I talked about this, and I'll ask you about it. It'll be kind of the next little subject. From the computer side of things, when my motor blew up, and I swear I did nothing to it, no changes, no tuning, no anything. I mean, it was the first new first new car I ever bought. And at 1,000 miles, I heard something. I called them. They said,
the valve.
No, it was a bottom end failure.
Really?
Yeah. I knew oil temperature was coming up very fast, like from startup, faster than normal. I called them up, told them I lost oil pressure. I got the stupid speech from the service guy. Look, you got to understand, you bought a performance car. It's going to act differently than you. Oh, Jesus Christ. And I said, look, it's making noise. And he's like, well, they're noisy motors, sir. They're a race motor. I'm like, oh, Christ. So drove it a few more days. Now it's going bad. And I said, look, you might want to come get this thing. It idles at 8 pounds of oil pressure. Well, sir, that's within the spec. And when it's hot like this in the summer, and I was like, listen, either you're going to come get it or I'm going to take it for a ride tonight and it'll be here in a box. It's up to you. And, I went out to 78, ran it through first, second, top of third, nosed over. That was it. Done. And it broke. But one of the things, they had the car for like a month and a half because some special section of GM had to come,
forensic guys
had to come look at the car to make sure that, that the signatures matched, that it was only a GM program in the car. And from what I heard, you can't put any kind of programming into the car and even put the stock one back without them knowing. Is that true?
It is true. I mean, what started this whole mess was the guys with the Duramax diesels back in 99 to 2005, because you can go out and buy a handheld programmer and blow 300 extra horse through your diesel, which the motor was pretty much okay with, but the Allison was like, I'm not dealing with this. And when GM looks at the end of their year and says, man, we replaced a lot of Allison trannies this year, and they do a lot of testing. You got to realize, I mean, the durability testing that goes on in the OEM level is unbelievable. Millions of man hours that they'll take an engine, put it on a engine dyno that's rotating upside down and sideways just to emulate oil movement. And they know. And when they're looking, going, man, that's a lot of trannies we bought. Why? And then they start realizing what's going on. They're like, we got to stop this. And a guy would rip the Allison out of the truck, put his thing back to stock, and then they'd be like, so they came up with a way to leave a signature mark that shows that even though you put it back and the data has been put back, somebody unlocked the door.
Now, I got a question along that whole vein of things, because I am a degenerate at heart. I can't help it. If I had a whole nother computer, is it possible to pull the entire computer out and bind the new computer with all the body modules, and then if it fails, bind it back to the modules it's supposed to have? Or would they be able to tell that too?
Maybe.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't want to say if he knows for sure.
I was
throw him under the bus.
Personally, I was going to use the microwave trick. I was going to throw the computer in a microwave, so I don't know what happened, and bring it back to him. Boy,
I mean, listen, I put yourself in their shoes. I mean, we have a program with a couple dealerships down here, and we're able to actually put some level of warranty on the vehicle, because I know that the parts that are going to take the abuse can take whatever level we're at. Would I build a 1,000 horsepower vehicle and sell it to the dealer? Absolutely not. There's way too much potential. We know the risk. So, GM says, hey, we're proud of what we've done. We've tested the axle. We've tested this. We've built in all this logic into the controller so you can't, torque management and all this other stuff. We'll back it up, and then we go and modify it and be like, hey, this broke.
all right. Well,
I mean, and they got to buy it. I mean, you got to have a little bit of understanding why there's such a lot on the line for these guys. You know what I mean?
No, and certainly GM's warranty side is something they got to keep, and I don't blame them. And I mean, but to do dumb little stuff, little things like you wanted your fans to come on a little sooner, inconsequential stuff. I understand. Tampered is tampered. I get it. And
yeah, but the reason why they don't even allow that is because it's either all or nothing. Just leave it alone. And it's just like, we're not going to debate it. And there was a point when they would have to pull the calibration out. The dealership would actually send the calibration back to General Motors. They would open it up and be like, oh my God, a guy added 5 degrees of spark timing over here. He made the power enrichment, and they knew. Now they don't even give a crap. They don't give a shit what you did. You touch the lock, you're done.
Yeah, that bite's changed. Yeah, in the electronics industry, that would be considered a fuse bite. If that bite is tripped, that's it.
Well, they figure they're giving you what you need from the door. That's why they're selling it at the price and the horsepower range.
Yeah, well, it's never a car guy. It's never what you need.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you know what? Do you remember there was an article when the ZL6 first came out and everybody was complaining about, they're losing power at the track, they're laying over, and somebody from GM came out and made a statement that said, yeah, we've purposely designed the calibration so we can put a 1 billion mile warranty on it, and this is what's going to happen. But if you want to go to your local tuner, go knock yourself socks off. They can resolve the problem, but you're on your own. So that was an interesting, yep, we know, and you're more than welcome to go at it, but don't keep us involved with it.
Yeah, that's
a bold statement.
That is a bold statement indeed. That's
Hey, well, let's talk about some fun shit for a minute.
Yeah,
if we could. So Howard and I went to Dubai last March.
Oh, because he did the show. What was it? A tuners challenge or an engine challenge overall?
The engine challenge. It was, what did they call that thing?
Well, it's the custom show.
Yeah, well, it was a custom show, but it was the engine battle.
Engine battle. No, engine battle.
Right, exactly. Battle. But I was actually lucky enough to choose the American engine battle participant. And I chose Howard, and I'm going to be nice about it, but he went over and hammered them. That's pretty accurate.
Well, I was getting kind of the play-by-play of the things that went on with the vehicles, and it was.
Oh, well, that was a shit show.
I'm sure that next time around it'll be a little better. I'd actually like to go to the next one if things like that go.
Yeah,
I'd like to see that area. It'd be neat.
Howard's hair was on fire most of the time.
Yeah, they liked it. I was like a freak over there. I didn't look like them. I didn't talk like them, and they looked at me like I was like some rare zoo animal. And we were caged in that area where the trucks were and stuff, so it actually kind of fit the bill. So.
Exactly. exactly.
Yeah, that would make me uncomfortable. Like all these people look and say, "Oh, look, what is that?" That'd be a little effed up.
You know what? They were. I got to be honest. I mean, I was excited to go. The concept of going there was like awesome, but there was a little bit of like, people like, "Are you crazy?" And then why? Because it's the Middle East, And when we got there was nothing but consideration, cooperation. They were awesome people.
They treated us great.
A bunch of friends over there. Yeah, I can't even say enough. I mean, I'm anxious to go back and. I made friends, 9,000 miles away. I mean, guys, we keep in touch and we talk. And
dude, you made one really good friend out there in the shed, right? I mean,
your buddy?
No, I think wasn't it your buddy?
Yeah, that's your tube steak.
Dude, this one guy, great guy, but there's a language barrier, and we were able to play with that. And he would drive us around, and we would be talking, and he just couldn't get the jokes that we were making.
Right.
And believe me when I tell you, it was really funny shit. We had a good time. We had a really good time.
Yeah. No, it was a great experience.
And he won the whole thing. I mean, it was a big deal. I mean, it was cool, but I think we knew we were going to win because we brought the right guy.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I mean, you always have to, you can't go into stuff with arrogance. You got to focus on it. Things could have gone wrong in any direction. I knew that we went over there with probably more GM experience in both engine building and most certainly on the calibrating side of it. So, I mean, I at least had some confidence going into it. But, those guys hustled. They got it done. They got the motor in. They got it running. And, it's, then you don't know if they're going to play games with the dyno. And, all this stuff's going through your head. And, I think it was we flipped the coin and let those guys go first on the dyno. And after a couple pulls, I can't even say that. I think the first pull that we made on the dyno probably just said it all right there.
Yeah, well, actually, the other guy, Foddy, kind of made a mistake in his first pull. And, Howard's been on dyno a little bit, and he knew he was going to make that mistake, and it was looking good for us.
Yeah, so if I remember right, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, you went to the dyno, and that pull counted.
Yes.
Like, so you had to put a calibration in based on what was done.
Yep.
And like, so you had to start from jump without any kind of testing, tuning, calibration, anything, all from experience. Yes. That's how it had to work.
Right. Exactly. I mean, when you're working with, basically it was the average of 10 pulls. 5 we did open, everybody saw. The other 5 on each side, nobody knew. They covered the screen, and they wanted to leave some suspense out of it. And we flipped the coin and won, and I said, let him go first.
Yep.
So, and matter of fact, the numbers are still vividly in my head. I think he made like 403. 408, 412, maybe 416. The numbers are all relative. And I think we got in the dyno, and the first pull we made was like 425.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that just wiped out his 5 pulls. I'm like, well, if we can keep at this pace, and then he just
and not blow up.
We actually went to dinner with Foddy. That's the guy. He's phenomenal. And after we had won it, we all went to dinner, and I said, "What happened?" He goes, "Oh my God." And he was just finger banging that laptop for just everything it had, and he told me what he had in the thing, and I'm surprised it didn't end up with fireworks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and we just can't, and I think I made the first program, we pulled it, I made one other change, never touched the thing the rest of the 8 pulls, and it just kept making more.
True story.
Let it go.
I think he made like 443. His best pull was like a 16, and Howard's best pull was like a 443.
Our best pull
52?
450 something.
That's right.
Almost 458 or something.
Yeah. Yep.
So it, but some of it obviously was calibrating. Some of it might have been how we assembled the motor, knowing what we were doing. I mean, when you're inching, when you're doing a competition and every horsepower counts, it's different than you build a car for a guy and he goes out and street drives it. You know what I mean?
That's right.
3-4 horse left and right doesn't matter. For us, it meant. So I mean, we had some tricks and stuff up our sleeve with the engine and whatever, but could have blown up in our face too, But we came out ahead. It was a big relief, and I think it proved to a bunch of guys over there that we're not a bunch of crooks, and we like them. And I don't know if Tom explained how the win went, but we had we both built our own engines, and the winner would have got both of them. And I kind of knew in my heart if we won this thing, I was going to let him have the motor back. You know what I mean? It didn't. We didn't want it. We wanted the relationship more than I wanted another engine. I think I saw that on place. You know what I mean?
I think I saw that on TV. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well,
sounds familiar.
He gave it back. It was pretty cool. They appreciated it.
Well, Howard.
Yeah.
This is Crunch. How are you?
What's up, buddy?
Whenever we have a big time guest, because you're big time now, especially when you come with Tom, that's big dog stuff. So now I have to ask you a question here to see how honest you're going to be. And we want to take it back to your earlier years in high performance. Do you have any street racing and grudge racing for cash in your history?
Yes.
Okay. I'm glad you were honest.
Hold on. As a matter of fact, when I looked at his page, I believe somewhere on Facebook or his page was a picture of the two steak shacks.
Nebas.
Yep.
Yeah, Mike's Nebas. Yeah, that started the whole thing.
Yep.
Oh my God, it was.
Oh, okay.
I knew the answer to that when Crunch was going there because there's only one reason you're in those areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I was just back up in New York a couple weeks ago for a family matter, and it was. I got there like midday, and actually it was the day before Labor Day, so everybody was gone. I kind of came out unannounced. I did a little memory lane drive around, and I drove. It's gone now, but it used to be a sub shop called Mike's Nebas Subs, and I remember when I got a driver's license. I think I had a 70 Nova back then.
Oh, okay.
Building it in the garage, and I'll never forget that very first day coming off the arterial, and the sub shop was like up off the arterial was a ramp up to another road, so you really couldn't see the sub shop till you got up to the intersection. And I remember pulling up there, and I looked over, and just the way the place was lit up with the neon, cars everywhere, it was something straight out of like a 50s movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was it. I was done. I spent the whole rest of my life, Friday and Saturday nights, hanging out from parking lot to parking lot.
Like we all did.
Driving but you just remember that place. And what's interesting was I put that picture on our Facebook page, and I had a whole bunch of people be like, my dad used to hang out there. And one kid even put up a picture of his dad's 69 gold-colored Camaro parked right in front of the place, which was just like perfect in comparison to the picture I put up. But, it's where it starts, man. It's, the testosterone comes out of us pretty quick. We got to harness it somewhere, so.
That's good stuff. It really is.
Yeah. No, it was cool.
Well, thank you for being honest. I knew it was in you.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's nothing. I mean, I don't know if it's about being honest or not. It's just about the reality. I mean, I'm sure on some capacity we've all been loose on the street with something. Some of us more than others, and the money definitely made it fun. And
right.
I'll tell you something. Down here in South Florida, there's a lot of I'll put it this way, culture.
Yeah.
Yep.
In that scene, and I sometimes find myself wanting to get involved with it, and I just, unfortunately, as a business that's growing and stuff, I sometimes just got to calm myself down and realize I just got to keep the stuff on the track, and
I understand.
I'll promote my customers and I'll help them get where they need to be. But you struggle with it because it's genetically wired.
Yeah, we've talked about a lot that as you get older, things change, you grow up, and you just can't do the stuff you used to. You just can't.
He wants to go out there and kick some ass for that money.
Well, that's what his customers are for.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what his customers are for.
Well, quick question for you.
The money just sweetened it up because you felt like you won, but like you took something from the guy. It wasn't
Back then the money was important.
$10,000. Yeah, you're $500-$600
Right.
a lot back then. You know what I mean? And it was but the win meant more than anything. You know what I mean? You come back into the Mike's Nebas or the Caldors parking lot, and you got 5,000 people around the car. They're ticking and smelling, and you just push them through their paces, and you're trembling because you've been hyping up for it for the whole week. You know what I mean? To gun somebody down. I mean, that's just the way it works.
Boy, that is a perfect picture of after a race. That is verbally, that is absolutely, because anybody who's a real car guy, growing up, chances are pretty good. They went somewhere from parking lot to parking lot.
Yep.
The cops told them to beat it, and they went to the next parking lot. Everybody did it. Everybody.
We all did.
Yeah, that one road that everybody went to race. So.
Yep. Yeah, there was a couple like that around here.
And we don't condone street racing.
No. I mean, we did a lot of dumb shit. I'm sure you did too. I mean, just stuff that you just wouldn't do anymore.
Now we have a friend down there too that was on the show, Tim from East Coast Chassis.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know how far or how close he is to you.
He's way up.
Where's he at?
He's in Daytona. He's at like 4 hours.
Yeah, it's 3 hours north.
3 hours north.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We're a little further south.
Right. Okay.
Hey, Howard, I remember talking to you a couple weeks ago. You said you had some new projects coming in. You got a 16 Camaro and a 16 CTS-V on order?
Yeah. The Camaro is supposedly due to be built the week of the 9th or something of October, and the Cadillac got pushed back to January typical GM, hey, come on in, buy it. Oh, we don't have that yet. You know what I mean? So, that's coming soon. But the Camaro's going to be fun because the current Gen 5 Camaro, as any end of a model, run is it's flat. You know what I mean? People are bored and it's again, I heard you guys talking earlier about the manufacturers and stuff. It's just like, I love GM, I'll always be a loyalist, but man, talk about a day late and a dollar short. Design, and I don't know what goes on. I think the bean counter's got to get back off and let the passion guys get back in the game because, the new Camaro, I mean, when you look at it, I thought I passed it on the road the other day, and it was a 2015.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, it's like you're going to go through all this excitement and pull the wraps off, and it looks like last year's model. I'm like, come on.
Really?
I
know. I've been saying it about the Camaro. Yep. I've been talking about the Camaro for a while now, how ugly it is, I think.
Yeah. So we're up to some plotting and scheming already with that car. I mean, everything that we've learned from C7, obviously it's a direct injection motor, and I got to give hats off to the interior. The interior of the car is badass. I mean, the car is really nice inside, which GM knew they needed to do some tune-up on, but I just think they're falling short again with the styling. I mean, the Mustang's awesome looking.
Isn't it?
You know what I mean? Wow. Love it.
I know, me too.
Got to give credit where due, man. I mean, we're not, we're car guys. We got to like everything, but Ford styling has always been great. Dodge has done a good job, and I don't know what's going on with GM, but
I hear that.
It is what it is.
I kind of hate to admit the look of the Mustang is pretty damn good. That twists my stomach to even say that, but it's...
And they brought the 5.0 back.
Yep.
Well, not really.
And the Challenger's always looked good, and the Camaro looks like ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of these cars, I heard you guys, John, about the renderings and stuff with what they think is going to be the ZR1 or the C8. You guys are talking about.
Do tell, man. What do you know?
Well, I mean, what's funny again with GM is they leak what they want and they think they're sending you over to the left and they're really just leaving you right where you were sitting. And I think what's going to end up happening is that if you look at very influential people like Zora Duntov, whose name comes up quite often when they talk about this mid-engine, is that the mid-engine concept has been around General Motors for a long time, back to Zora's days, which are, back in the, late 50s and 60s. He just felt like they needed that. And, all the loyalists came in and said, you can't do that. A vet needs to have the motor in the front, whatever. But I think with the new C7, most certainly the Z06, with its styling, with its punch that it has, and the price, when you really think about it, I mean, we have a supercar. It's the Z06, and if they're going to play in that supercar market and try to horn themselves into Ferrari and Porsche and Lamborghini kind of world, they kind of have to go to that concept. There's definitely some pluses to it. I mean, it definitely gives them a traction benefit that the car needs for sure. Most certainly, cockpit-wise and interior. If you've ever been in a new C7, there's like less room than there was in a C6. It's ridiculous, and there's no place to go. And I think just that whole slant nose front exotic look is what's going to grab a whole other market that they need to get into. So I think it's coming. There is no reason to make a ZR1 out of the current model, because if you buy a Z07 Corvette, what more can you do?
Well, and that's
carbon brakes. Got all this shit.
My brother has a 2008 Z06. I have the kind of in the middle. I think it was extra shit they had left to make the 427. It's the only thing I can figure.
Yep.
I have that one, and when the Z06 came out, we said, well, what the fuck are they? What could they possibly do for a ZR1?
Right.
I mean, where are you going to go from here? And the logical step would be to make a big change. And I mean, look, the big change was normally aspirated to a supercharged. And, I'd like to see the new platform. I mean, like everybody here knows that I was looking at a McLaren for a long time. That's what I wanted to get, because I kind of wanted like the supercar kind of thing. And I chose the Corvette. And when the new Z06 was coming out, I'm like, that's it. That's what I'm getting. And then I saw the weights came up and some of the other things. And I mean, I know they're impressive, but just kind of not what I want. I mean, I'd like the mid-engine design, me personally.
Yeah. Howard, do you think?
I mean, you have to. You're going to get to a point with these cars. Everybody went from, the C5 was a tremendous jump. That really the C5 is what really relit Corvette, because it was done. they were ready to chop that car off the chopping block. It was going to be gone for forever. And interestingly enough, I mean, I don't remember the exact numbers, but, corporate came down to the Corvette team and said, listen, you want the car? We'll give you $6 million to redesign the car. Which sounds like a lot of money, but Chrysler had $300 million to design the minivan. And the smart thing that GM did is they finally went out to their customers and they said, what do you guys want? What do we need to do? And people are like, well, I want more legroom. I want my wife to be able to get in the car and not have her coochie hanging out when she gets in it. Or 2 sets of golf clubs have to fit. And I don't want the car to rattle with the roofs off. And I want more RPM. And I want. And you know what they did? They gave it to everybody. And the car took off. And, when the C6 came out with the exposed headlights, people were like, no way. And then you loved it, and then C7 came out, I hate it. And then the guy buys it. So it's, it's a funny process of love-hate. At some point you start succumbing to it, and, I don't think we're going to see that mid-engine for a little bit. I mean, I think that might be 8th generation car.
I hate to go on record with this, but I really like the C5 better. I really do.
A lot, and you know what? A lot of people, we hear it a lot of time. I mean, especially the fixed roof coupe. That's a timeless body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
The ZL6. It's just
that
something
is true.
about that look. I mean,
I like the C6.
It's got that roadster look.
I like the C6.
But the thing is if you're in this game and you enjoy it and you like the smell of the new leather and the glue, you're going to have to, at some point, you got to buy another new car. I mean, you can't just sit there with your 97 Corvette and say, oh, I'm digging my heels in. Okay. You and your 350 horsepower can sit there while it's double. You know what I mean?
Yeah, while the guy buys a 427 and blows it up in 1,800 miles. Yeah, it's a real trade-off.
Yeah. Well, that's listen. Then you got a bad experience.
I know.
The Z06, hands down, still not counting the new one, which we'll get there maybe at some point, although it's expensive. The C6 Z06, hands down, was the best bang for the buck. It still is in any market, in any territory, for what that car could do for the money it cost.
Okay, question about the new Z06. The automatic car you mentioned before. Have you driven them?
Oh, yeah, we got a bunch in the shop.
How are they?
Badass. Well, in the Z06, or are you talking about the base car?
Z06.
8 speeds.
Z06 specifically.
Z06 8-speed, which is called the 8L90E, thus far is proving to be a pretty serious transmission. We're going to find out next couple of weeks when we put 900 wheels through one of them how good it's going to be. But if you go back to the C6 era, there was a 6L80 which was in the base car, and then there was the 6L90 which was in like the Cadillac CTSV and the ZL1, and there was about a 250 foot-pounds of torque difference from GM of what the tranny could take. And God only knows we've put 1,000 plus horsepower through the 90. Well, the tranny that's in the ZL6 is the 90 version of the 8-speed. So I've seen the numbers on it. They rated it in the low 700s, which means it's probably good for like 900 and change plus. It shifts faster than the Porsche tranny right now. And again, I have to give credit to General Motors because this was one of the first trannies that GM actually designed in-house versus subbing it out to like, Getrag or another tranny, So that's amazing that it works, that it actually runs for them to do that. I have to give them hats off, and it seems to be living. I guess we're going to find out when we put some smack to it.
For me, I hate the fact that my car, I can go like 62 or whatever in first gear. It makes me crazy. I mean, to me, like the feeling that you're leaving that much off the table, and the first guy that says, well, 411 with a 0.5 something overdrive, I kind of could live with that if I want to revert all the way back to my teenage years of driving something around at 2,500 or 3,000.
Yeah.
But that new automatic, isn't that first gear like a 4.56 or something?
It's exactly what it is. Yeah. Nasty. But they also got a 230, 240 something rear in it. So, I mean, they've got it. With the first one we had on the dyno, we always dyno a car in first in whatever gear is 1-to-1. You know what I mean?
Right.
And, the automatic in the 8-speed 6th gear is 1-to-1. So we were baseline at 1, and the dyno got pissed off because we were over 200 miles an hour on the dyno at the
Wow.
So we dyno them all in 5th gear now just to keep the freaking wheel speed down. I mean, it was It was crazy.
Now, what is the end overall overdrive of that one, of the automatic in the Z06?
I think
I thought it was point.
7 and 8,
No, it's
7 and 8 are overdrive. I don't. It's going to be probably close to. I think it's in 0.7 to 0.5 and inevitably an eighth. I mean, it drops it. So imagine 0.5 overdrive with a 240 something rear gear in the car.
yeah.
That's how they're passing the emission. That's how they're passing the mileage test.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going 70 miles an hour at 800 RPMs.
Boy, talk about something having to be smart in the trans and good at low RPM. We'll call it drivability.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, must have some good torque
you also
numbers
got to
too.
realize too, they got with variable valve timing, displacement on demand, this big gear resolution. I mean, that's how they're making the government happy and getting around the mileage game. I mean, and you know what? You have to give them some credit for 650 horsepower. Meeting and these emission standards are getting tougher every year, and they're getting the stamp and they're building the car. I mean, that's pretty cool,
That is cool.
So, when you look at it from that angle, it's pretty cool. So,
Hats off to them.
yeah, and then we take them apart and go crazy, and we lose all the mileage and we go real fast. Hats off to us.
Yeah, that's right. That's
That's what
right.
hacking's all about.
Well, Howard, plug your business. Give us the name, number.
Well, it's Redline Motorsports. We're really not too hard to find through Google, and we got a pretty robust Facebook page. Instagram's been a lot of fun for us. I mean, it's we're out there, and we're not stopping, and we got no signs of slowing up. And I guess people just have to watch out. Man on a mission. So, I guess we're not too hard to find.
No, you're definitely not too hard to find, and we're going to keep you on our radar and on our website and all that stuff, and hopefully we'll do something cool in the near future, and we'll get you back on here.
Well, one of my friends. Hey, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Howard.
No, I was going to say, I mean, I think this is cool that you guys are doing this. I remember Tom talking about this with me in Dubai, and I think we were in just a high of being out there that I was processing it, not processing it. And, when he called about the other day, I was like, yeah, this is fun stuff. I mean, it's a great opportunity to, network, different views, different ideas. I definitely, I got you guys on Facebook now, and I'll be dropping some stuff on your Facebook page here and there, some cool stuff, and definitely appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, well, you're more than welcome. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. We're not professional broadcasters by any means. We got all the stuff to do it.
Well, Tad is.
Well, Tad is. Yeah.
There we go.
We're having a good time doing it, and the fan base is growing surprisingly fast.
Yeah.
I think it tells you how many people are really into the car side of things. It's interesting to say the least, but. No,
how far is the reach? I mean, I'm kind of, Tom and I were talking quick the other day. Trying to I've learned more about the program in the last probably 7 hours than I've learned before. Now I'm a fan, so I'm just kind of curious, how you guys continue to stimulate this and get more people.
Well, I mean, honestly, what helps is people like you, guests.
No doubt.
Because when we have a guest on that has a big following, a lot of people want to come in and listen. And we're doing something a little different than most podcasters are doing. Most of them capture, and Tom and I just talked about this today. They capture, they record, they edit, they post it. We figured, look, we're idiots.
Let's do it live.
We're going to make mistakes. So while we're running the session, why don't we put it live? We bought, a real studio quality phone system. That's how you're calling in. And we could have 12 callers at once if we wanted. Call on hold, you could have a call screener, the whole deal. So we figured if we presented it with a live side as well, so people could actually interact with the show, that would help grow stuff. Now, your side of things, we probably could have taken calls to see if people wanted to call in if they had questions, but a lot of times that gets a little dicey.
Yeah, and we wanted to talk to you. But listen, to answer your question about the reach, Mike and I were just talking about we got people from Italy. We always have people from the Middle East, all over this country. We're heavy in Oklahoma and Texas and California. It's all over. It's actually been pretty amazing.
Right. And the only way you can take overall downloads. You can look and say, okay, you posted this show. The easiest way that we can gauge how many quote unquote subscribers, like people that actually wait for the content to be published, is that when you put an episode up, you get to see how many are downloaded essentially in the first like 1 hour, because those are people that are waiting for your content. So that's a good barometer. And when you see something like that occur, and you know, I'm really not going to hide numbers. I don't care.
No.
Our biggest one was the one with Tommy Martino and Dale Kubik from those guys. Initial downloads in the first, it was no time.
A few hours.
In a few hours was surpassed anything we ever had. And I believe it was like in the first day window, and it was only in the first few hours, it was 5,000 downloads. That's
awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So it's very good reach. And
now you have to tell Howard that we started off with 2 listeners in Utah.
Yeah.
And now we're up.
Yeah, we're actually up in Utah. We're up in Idaho. You know what?
We went a long time without having Utah.
Yeah.
Like 10 episodes. We were crying.
Yeah, Utah didn't
What's
like us.
going on with Utah?
I think we're hitting Utah now.
I got to tell you,
I drove out there.
I looked, and the worst one right now is North Dakota.
North Dakota now?
You need to get Trump on here.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh Lord.
I would love to get him on here, but I don't necessarily think he's a car guy. Maybe talk about helicopters. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
I'll talk.
Well, look, Howard, it's been great having you. And I was going to say before that, you know, I had been looking for a Malibu, like a G-body chassis to build a street car. And a bunch of my friends had said, and one of my good friends said, look, you got that other Corvette sitting in a garage. It hasn't moved. That's a nice platform to screw with. So maybe that'll be the project car. I don't know.
I think that would be a good idea.
And I like my C5s.
Always got options.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be talking to you about that for sure.
Sounds like a plan. Again, I really appreciate the opportunity, and we'll have to do this again, and always open line for this kind of stuff and tech stuff and stuff. We're kind of, you know, I don't know if Tom's mentioned, we do a lot of stuff with some of the national magazines, and most of the stuff is all technical testing stuff, and we're pretty to the point with stuff, you know, and that kind of had some good answers when people are looking to find out what works and what doesn't, because, you know, cars are clinical. They either do it or they don't. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of bullshit out there in how stuff works, but it really only works one way.
Yeah. At some point, I'd love to have you back on to go more in depth, especially as the direct injection evolves. You know, when components become available and
we'll do that.
Things get unlocked. I mean, I think it's a fantastic opportunity. It's just a matter of what can you do with it, and it's timing.
Yep.
All right.
Well, you know what? Keep your eyes open in the next 2-3 weeks here, and we're going to go out and try to go bust a big number with this Z06 here, trying to go for sub 950s with it. And most certainly when the new Camaro comes out, we have a recipe for that thing too, and that usually goes around the world pretty quick. And that's kind of how we're trying to roll here. You know,
Cool.
Point and shoot.
Perfect.
So, okay.
we'll be talking again, man. We got to talk about Dubai again too. I was with the boys this weekend, so I'll be calling
My
you.
bags are packed. I'm ready to roll.
All right. Well,
Plus, you can see Nishad when we get out there.
man, I don't want to steal him from you. You know that. All right, man. I will call you.
All right, guys. Take it easy.
Thanks again, Howard.
Yep.
All right, bro.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that was Howard, Redline Motorsports. He was a good guest.
Howard Tanner. I told
Howard
you.
Tanner,
I
yeah.
knew he would be.
God, I had so many questions I wanted to ask, like the high-pressure fuel system side and
I
everything,
know.
but I'm just,
I know you could just keep on going and going and going. We could be here till midnight.
yeah.
And Crunch is yawning over there.
That wasn't me yawning.
That was
I'm just
me.
sitting.
Oh,
That's
it's Tad.
That was me.
But that's that was very informative.
Yeah,
We're getting great at this informative situation here.
the modern electronic stuff is getting more and more advanced, and like this was what we were talking about the other day.
We didn't get his spill on the pro stock, the
carburetors.
yeah, all that stuff, and the injectors.
yeah, I mean, we missed a lot.
Yeah,
We'll have him on again.
Dude, he was on almost an hour.
I know.
That's probably our
I know.
longest.
It flew by.
That was an hour.
Yeah, it was an hour.
I knew it would go by fast. And you really didn't help us, Pat.
Pat is slang for Tad,
Yeah.
who was
Tad.
yawning in the mic, coughing in the mic.
Come on, man, get in here.
What? Where? When? What?
You know what killed me while we were talking, Tad? You're like, oh, yep. And you're like smiling, nodding your head. I'm like, okay, he's going to perk up and say something. Nope.
That's all right. Tad's gonna kill it next week with IAG and Subaru.
Yeah, that's, and we started talking about that.
That's the Subaru.
Yeah. This company, when they come in, they're going to be on next Monday.
Yep, next Monday.
Okay. And you've already got that all set up so we can.
I do.
All right. Perfect. Perfect. That's good. That'll be a
And Tad's going to get the guest for the week after.
yeah.
I think he's going to be the ex-lead singer of Slayer or something.
Yeah, there you go, Tad. You got to work on that.
And before we go, Fly Ty won his first grudge race for cash at ACO.
Nice.
Congratulations, Fly
All
Tie.
right.
He was a good character.
I know.
He was really a good guy.
He was good.
All right.
Good for him.
Well, we'll be back Monday, and we're going to shoot for 7 o'clock again. So see you next time.
Later.
Later.